Hello, and welcome back to That's So Fashion. As
Hello.
always, I am John, and
And I'm Chris.
this week, no, I'm just saying, we're going to talk about our process. So,
Mm.
we spoke about episode one, we spoke about burnout. Our last episode, we were speaking about just projects that we have on and what we're
Hmm.
sort of looking to the future.
That we couldn't really be creative because we were poorly. We
Yeah,
couldn't do anything getting
exactly.
back
It had
into
been
it.
so many weeks, we weren't even able to meet, we weren't
No.
able to record.
Yeah.
And so we're here now and we're doing it a bit more consecutive and we're talking about what our
Yeah.
process looks like and the difference between them.
Absolutely. And how
Yeah.
we're getting now we're back to going. How we're going to get. What's the process that we have to get back into it?
Yeah,
What we
exactly.
do with when we get going with projects. It's a a good topic because when you are I think it's a good topic. I'm biased, obviously, but I think it can be quite tough
Hmm.
if you haven't been creative for a while to rev those engines again.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Feeling motivated, I mean, in
yeah,
itself is a real feat sometimes. And
yeah,
just, getting that creative juice flowing can be
yeah,
really tough.
absolutely. I mean, you mentioned episode one of this season about the burnout and how when you are at the point where burnout, like that you don't want to be creative,
No.
and then you couldn't be creative because we're poorly, but now we're ready to. It's like what is our process of starting again? I want to say starting again, but it's not really because it's not like it's fresh. But how do we kind of get going? So how do you get going?
Well, I mean, that's a really interesting question, I guess, and it is what we're talking about here. I should apologize, though. It is very warm here in London at the moment, and if you see me, drying my brow, please,
Just a quick come on.
you know, ignore me.
How could anybody ignore you? Come on.
But, right, I mean, it depends, I guess. Like, if I am working, so I mentioned last episode that I am working towards a goal, which is a small brand,
Yeah,
thinking unisex and all different things, gender neutral
absolutely.
clothing and whatnot, and seeing what I can build with that.
Yeah.
So that would be, there's a lot of work going into that. But if we're talking more on a smaller scale, so creating something for myself, which I do so rarely, or for a client, and it doesn't require, a huge range plan of, I don't know, design and whatnot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then I think that's a really good place to start, at least for myself, because that's where I am more often. So I had a lot of formal training, as I've discussed before. I
Mhm.
tend to be very methodical, and I can be very focused and very controlled with how I do things. And we mentioned this earlier, obviously off camera, but I am definitely not one of these people that can work in a really messy environment.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
can't have bolts of fabric everywhere, papers everywhere. Like, I need it to be there. If there is a bit of chaos, it needs to be organized chaos.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, it just completely blocks my mind.
No, absolutely. I think creativity does lend itself to a bit of chaos, like when
Yeah,
you're taking random things and you're trying to mesh it together in some way or another. But absolutely agree that it has to be ordered.
yeah.
There has to be a controlled element to the chaos because you just clutters your mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, if I were to, you know, I'm making you something.
Mm.
So, we've met. You want something custom. I'm going to design you, a cute little denim outfit like you're wearing today. Like, where am I going to start with that? Well, it is a Canadian tuxedo that you have
It
on.
literally
Did
is.
you know that
It was.
though?
I did know that.
Yeah,
I did know it was a Canadian tuxedo. It's
it
not.
is.
I feel like it's not a full Canadian
No, no,
tuxedo.
double denim doesn't have to be like a matching set.
Oh, okay.
It's just the idea that you've got denim on top and denim on the bottom. It is a full-on Canadian
Mm.
tuxedo, something I love, by the way.
In honor of John, of
I
course,
can't help
and our
it. And we're
Canadian
not
friends.
matching today.
We're not. It's the first episode in a while
I know.
we're not
I
matching,
know.
but we are complimenting, which is
Yes,
quite nice.
which is true.
Yeah.
But right, I keep getting off track. So my process.
Yes.
So we're going to create something for you. So I mean, typically, I like to start out with a bit of formal research.
Mhm.
Again, it's what I learned when I studied, or my training, or however you want to put it. Like, and it is something that is, I think, comforting for me in a way. Like, without it, I do feel a little bit lost.
Yeah.
And I think as much as it can sometimes get in my way, it also helps me push forward.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the opportunity to do the research that I feel I need to do, although I might not need to do it, I don't always feel ready for the project at hand. So sometimes,
Interesting.
yeah, and I think that is partially my own compulsive I don't know, need to do it, but also how I was taught.
Yeah.
And I do take things very literally, and I do follow a real formula. That's just how I always have
Yeah.
been, no matter what I'm doing.
That's how you're wired.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it be with work or with my friends, I like to plan. I like to know what's happening
Yeah.
and whatnot. And so I do think there is an element of that that is involved. So it would be nice to, have a conversation with you. What is it that you're looking to do? Go away, look at some research that would be appropriate, whether it be something historical, something architectural,
Mm-hmm.
other
That's
other
interesting.
fashion. If it was quite simply you wanted something to follow a specific trend, am I researching that trend? Do I need to see, I don't know, epaulets or a collar or like
Yeah, yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
might
yeah.
be?
Details and detail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would really need to put a bit of a body of work together. It used to be it has to be in a book. So
Mhm.
I do have them all still, and I like to refer back to my books that I've made, but it would so often be put a book of research together, start pulling out of that, start designing, start drawing.
Yeah.
Now I think partially for the environment and partially because I maybe have evolved a little bit,
Yeah.
I tend to put a digital file together.
Nice.
Now I will say I don't love it. I was actually thinking
You
about
shocked me.
I was thinking about it the other day when I was putting a Pinterest. Do people even use Pinterest
Oh
anymore?
yeah, it's still massive, isn't it?
Mm.
I love a bit of Pinterest.
I was putting a Pinterest board together for my gender neutral brand
Yeah.
and just starting to piece together areas that I wanted to focus on, certain details and whatnot. And I was sitting there doing it and enjoying it, but I was thinking like I really miss the days of having all these like tears in front of me,
Yeah.
books in front of me, taking them to a photocopier, making sheets, pasting them in, drawing over them. Like I really do miss that, and I thought those were the days.
But that's really, really interesting. I find that so telling of your process because that really follows the narrative of you can tell you're trained
Yeah, I just
because that's what's drummed into you.
yeah. Honestly,
Put it in a book.
if we didn't have a good book of like when I was in university 20 years ago or whatever, when I started in London, it's over 20 years ago.
Showing your age.
I know, and I had some I had some great teachers, professors, I guess, and one of them in particular, it doesn't matter her name, but she was great, but she was very particular about you had to have a book with your research so you could really follow your path from
Yeah.
where you began. So if you did make a mistake or you did want to change something, you could see exactly where it came from. We weren't allowed to use the internet in those days.
Wow.
And because it had to be out of the library, you had to be able to reference exactly where it came from, which is, these days I don't even think that would be the case, but I don't know.
I mean, they do, but it's Harvard referencing, but you're from wherever it is on the net.
Yeah, and we also were highly, highly, highly encouraged not to use magazines.
Wow.
And this is, again, we're talking 20 odd years ago, so I'm sure things have drastically
Why is that?
changed.
Is that because of the transient
Well,
nature of fashion?
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, again, we were supposed to be researching things properly. We were supposed to be looking at historical, whatnot, architectural, different things,
Yeah, yeah.
finding stuff. So it was go out and take your own photographs, go to the library and look through books, be able to do footnotes, be able to reference them, take that imagery.
Yeah.
I really love that, though. That does work very well for my mind and
Yeah.
how I am, wired, as you say. So that
I can
really,
see why, because that kind of then connects you to what you're making.
Yes.
It's a tactile
We
thing.
had to have a plan in many senses. I'll get to that after, but it was absolutely that. And if you didn't do it well, if you didn't then have samples of materials in there, samples of like stitch samples in there to show an image and where the actual idea came from, how you created that pattern, how you put it together so that when you actually went to make the garment, you could reference that. Like if that all wasn't there, it was
That's
like basically
incredible.
an instant fail.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you've got to be able to have it all.
Yeah, and I mean
Evidence, really,
exactly,
as they say.
Evidence is exactly it. Now there were times when I didn't do it. You're a student, you're bored, or you don't care.
Yeah,
Fine,
yeah,
but like
yeah.
for the most part, it was really fun. There were a couple of people in my class specifically that had the most amazing research books, that just like you could tell they were, I don't know, scrapbookers in a different life or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and they just knew what they were doing, and it was so beautiful, and they always got the highest grades
Yeah, yeah.
when it came to their books.
Teachers love the aesthetic ones,
No,
though,
of
don't
course
they?
they do. But
yeah,
so that was very much what I was taught. It's
Interesting.
very much where I begin. But as I'm saying now, it's digital. So I have my Pinterest board. I put it all together. I do still like have photographs that I take when I'm out, and I have tons of books on my bookshelf, which I always have like post-it notes in that
Yeah.
I reference. but I'm not making a physical book anymore, and I genuinely miss it. But that is the beginning of my process. So whether I'm doing a range plan or making, like, denim tuxedo for
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
Canadian tuxedo rather, I like to begin with that.
That's a really interesting spot to start in because it's very different to where I start.
Well, tell me about it. Do you want, we can do a little back and forth.
I I had the same when I was in university where they were adamant, like they were really hot on you had to have evidence. I mean, I understand why because it's a graded thing, right? But
Yeah, of course.
you had to have evidence. You had to show your process, show your workings, as they say. You had to have your wheres, your hows, your who's, your whats, and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. I hated the physical stuff.
Oh, really?
I was a digital person. I remember having conversation. I mean, I did the physicals because you had to, but and I had this whole binder of research that I'd found during the course of my degree, separate to my book on the making side of things.
Hmm.
So I had like the academic side separate from my creative side. Um, but remember having a conversation quite strongly with my lecturers. Shout out to Phoebe and Bev. That I don't want to do physical. I am more comfortable doing digital.
Oh, really?
Not because I want to have the option of changing it later, and that's really not my thing. I prefer the ease and speed that you have when you're using digital means. Like
Okay.
because when you're in a well, can't speak for everyone, but when I'm in a creative fever and I've got all of these like, oh, I remember this thing I've seen, but it wasn't in a magazine, or it was on this site, or it was on a social media, or it was somebody that's just sent me something, or I want to be able to put them all into one spot, play around with how
Hmm.
it looks,
Yeah.
and then link that to another page within that digital document that links to my academic research. And
Right.
I wanted to have that ease of, rather
Hmm.
than going, I've printed out this document, I've stuck it into my folder, I want to now circle it, and I've got to now find the imagery and stick it on. I find that bit the waste of time.
Okay. I mean, I do get that.
Not waste of time in what you're doing, but how long it takes
No,
to do
but
it.
that's exactly it. It does take time, and I can appreciate that that's not something that everybody
Yeah,
has
yeah,
or want. Not has, but I don't know. Mentally, not everybody is able to spend all that time, so you just sort of want to get to the end result, and having
yeah,
to scrapbook your way through stitch samples and drawing all over imagery and where does this
yeah.
go and gluing and pulling. Like,
I
it
mean,
takes
I
time.
love all the drawing over stuff and like referencing and all that kind of stuff. And I do have those. Like, I use
Mm,
Procreate when I draw and all that kind of stuff. So I do draw and superimpose that onto other things and so on and
right.
so forth. But when it comes to my process of how I start, I go digital first.
Okay.
Then, if I need to, I'll use physical.
Interesting.
I'll
So
find
I'm the
samples.
well, I was very much the opposite for
Yeah.
me. Like, I guess
How
if
funny.
like if I had put a book to, especially when I was still a student, so again, that's a long time ago, or even like working for like certain brands, but if I were to put a book together, a body of work together, then I might find myself scanning those things in as they are as a complete page,
Yeah, yeah,
so that I could manipulate it maybe, whether that be digitally drawing over
yeah.
something, pulling a certain area away, trying to create a print maybe, so manipulating a
Mhm.
certain spot and creating a digital print to have either digitally print something
Yeah,
properly or to send to have some screens made for silk screening.
yeah.
So that in that sense I might have worked that way, but for me it was always it was always physical first, and it's been, like I said, a little difficult to just do it from the digital point of view, but I am trying to think of the environment and not print off 100
Mhm.
pieces of paper that are either going to go in the bin
Sit
or
on a
just gonna,
shelf or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
I mean,
no, I'm with you on that.
I guess if they sit on a bookshelf and I keep them forever, they're not like in a landfill somewhere,
Mm.
but doesn't mean they won't eventually end up there. I don't know.
No, exactly,
But
and with the nature of what you create, who's to say that most of that couldn't be recycled
mm,
anyway if you were to
no,
really
exactly,
do it? But
exactly. But I mean, that's like really very much where I start off, which obviously is different than yourself.
yeah,
I mean, once I've got that work, I also, and I still do like to do all of my designs by hand. I am
hmm,
still drawing with pencil
great,
and pens and markers. I really haven't mastered that digital design world, and I do think that is an area that would benefit from further development,
yeah, yeah,
especially knowing the way everything is going. But at the moment, hand drawing still works for me. It's what I'm most comfortable with. I really enjoy it. I could spend weeks just, designing and
yeah.
drawing, and I have.
I mean, I think yes, it would be good for you to have an extra skill of the digital stuff. But actually, I think you've got it backwards. I think the art of hand drawing is slowly being lost.
Yeah, especially when you think about the way universities are teaching certain things in design, and they want everybody to go right into an industry job that is more high street based. So
Yeah.
being able to, being a whiz on the computer
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what you need.
Yeah.
I am not that person.
Yeah. So I think actually having that skill really helps set it's your modus operandi anyway, but
Yeah.
it's really what helps set you apart because you've got something that a lot of people don't have.
No, and that's true, and I have discussed that with some friends, especially in the shoe world.
Yeah.
But then I know a couple of people who are pattern cutters in London. We studied together.
Yeah.
And our pattern cutting degree that we did together was all by hand. We had minimal digital experience within the class.
Yeah.
We did, I think it was like 4 sessions or something in a year on, I forget now if it was Gerber technology, one of the pattern cutting ones, to
Yeah.
learn how to develop digitally. And some people really love that. I didn't. Again, I like to do it by hand. But so I was having this conversation with my friend Sarah the other day. Hi, Sarah. And you probably met her at my wedding. Anyway, and we were just saying, like, neither of us do it digitally, and it might be the sort of thing that we need to learn, because if you did want to go work for a bigger brand,
Yeah.
even if you're the absolute most skilled creative pattern cutter, I mean, you walk in there and you say, like, I don't know how to use your digital platform,
yeah.
that might be a deal breaker, because it's so much quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, I understand it is very accurate, but it's not for everybody, and that's
Well, there's
an
nothing
area
stopping you from doing
no,
it.
no, of course,
Yeah,
and
go
maybe I
for it.
will be, but that's
Yeah.
not part of my process. I still do it by hand, and that actually is what I was going to say earlier when I mentioned a plan. Like, I had this teacher, Claire. She was the one that was very adamant about the book and just always being able to reference where you came from
Yeah.
and evidence everything. And you start out with your big body of research, and you segue into your designs,
Mm-hmm.
and from there, really, if it wasn't just a design project we were studying, or in the case of me now, if I'm not just designing things to have that range for whatever purpose,
Yeah.
I'm going to make something.
Yeah.
So I'm making you your denim, your Canadian tuxedo. I'm going to start pattern drafting. So because I'm not doing it digitally, I'm doing it by hand. I love that. I
Yeah.
love drafting, and we were taught to start with a plan. So drafting everything out on your paper,
Yeah.
always sort of like, doing a shirt front, back, next to each other's sleeve, like, so you can see it running across.
Yeah.
Like, I can picture them, like, ingraining it into my mind, and everything you do comes from that plan. So you
Wow.
manipulate the pieces, you move darts around, you change a shape, you drop a neckline, you add a collar, whatever it is, it's
Yeah, yeah.
all there. It was always color coded, which I love because I'm crazy. Highlighters. And
Absolutely
whatnot.
not. That's the way to go, and I
Eh,
love
I
that
know.
that's how you do it.
But so, it's all color coded, and you know what everything means, and you got a little legend. So,
Yeah.
in the case of me, blue is fabric, like sort of self fabric, pink is lining, orange is interfacing, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And all of your pattern pieces are cut from that plan. So if you go back,
Wow.
because I've made you your shirt, something's not fitting, like as in the sleeve head's not
Yeah,
fitting
yeah.
in, or it's not fitting you properly. If you had cut everything up into a pattern piece, you have nowhere to go back and check your mistake. So this is what we were taught to
That's
do.
so smart.
And there were a lot of
Come through training.
I remember quite a few people. It sounds so boring talking about it now.
Not
I
at all. I'm
rem-
finding this fascinating.
I
I mean,
remember a few people in my class in the first year, like in the first term, we were making was it a shirt? A shirt. I think it was a shirt.
yeah.
And we were making a project. And there was this girl, Laura. She lives in Australia now, but I remember she did design something. She did a plan. She cut the plan up and cut it into pattern pieces, and it didn't fit or whatever.
Oh no.
And so teachers walking around, how are you doing? Do you need any assistance? How can I help you? And she's like, I can't figure out like what's going on. All right, well, let's take a look at your plan. Let's see where you went wrong. And it was like, what plan? She's like, plan. You draft from there. And she's like, oh, this is it. I made the pieces. And
that's
I
awkward.
remember her getting in trouble. And it was like, how do you get in trouble in university? Like, you're all adults
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And so
Some people take it very seriously.
I
though.
know, but like I don't know if it was that really stuck in my mind, that because I remember that happening to her, or if it's just that it made sense to me. But like I got my box over there filled with all my patterns. They're all in envelopes, they're all labeled, and
Mm-hmm.
every single one has a color-coded plan, and that way I can always look back and see what I've done, what
That's
block I
so
used, how I
clever.
manipulated it, where it is, again, but it takes a lot more
Yeah,
time,
of course. Yeah.
and it is very much like train, study, boring if you're not into that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
happen to be,
Yeah.
but that's my main process. I mean, so it starts with research, goes segues into design, moves into the pattern development and the plan, and then you cut out your pieces from that, and you
And then you go into
pin your
making.
fabric, and you just go into making. And I mean, we don't have to get into that because that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's the whole thing in itself. But that process is so methodical that I'm not surprised. Well, also I know you're trained again, but I'm not surprised that that's how you work, because that's your brain right there.
Yeah, and I like that
Yeah.
because I can
It's
follow it
tactile.
exactly, and I can follow the whole thing. You're planning. I like planning everything, and you've got this plan in front of you, and it's always there, and you can always
Yeah.
refer back to it. There are so many times over the years where things just haven't worked out, they haven't fit properly, and I haven't had to worry because I can think, what did I do wrong? Oh, I didn't add seam allowance there, or I cut it off by mistake, or that was supposed to be 7 millimeters longer, or whatever it is.
Do you know what? I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm actually gonna use that
Oh, really?
going forward.
Oh, well, there
That
you
the
go.
plan idea,
You're
because
welcome.
that's so far away from what I do.
Well, let's hear about what you do, because I think it's going to kill me.
I think it will kill you slightly because, as we've discussed previously on this podcast, I am the chaotic element of fashion, and you are the organised, trained one. But first of all, my degrees weren't. I don't think they're the same as your degrees in terms
No.
of like what the process was. My undergrad was actually interior design decoration,
Yeah,
and
I remember you saying.
it was at the end of that I discovered my love of fabrics. Just to
love
give a
that.
quick like roundup
I
for
love
this thing.
that.
Yeah, it was a complete like sidestep. I was like, oh, actually, I love this more than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I followed that vein, and then for my final age project, I went into textile design, and then from there, I went to my master's, which was surface pattern and textile design, and I went down the fashion route that way. So I've kind of,
It's very impressive.
thank you very much. I kind of found my way to fashion very much a sidestep. It feels a bit like a maze how I got there. Whereas yours is very clearly step by step, process driven, trained. You've gone in with that outcome in mind,
Yes.
ordered in that way. So for me, hearing you say about how that process works and how it was drummed into you so sternly, I find that fascinating, and that plan idea is it is actually genius. So you say it's boring. I'm like, well, of course you need a master document, and usually when I do stuff, I have master documents going, but not to that level. So I'm absolutely stealing that. Thank you very much, top
Oh,
tip.
well, you're very welcome.
Thank you to your trainers. But my process is, it starts similar.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have like I'm doing X. I need to know what the backstory is, so I'll need to find either whether it's reference images or the history of that item. Like, have I done it before? Has it been done before? If so, how?
Yeah.
What am I using? But before I get to that point of the backstory research element, my first and foremost thing that starts off my process is, what do I want to feel?
Okay.
What's this garment making you feel when you wear it?
So it's sort of like a sensory emotional
Yeah,
driven project.
absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of like a thread that's always run. All degrees before, that whole process I've just described, everything has always been emotional based.
Okay.
It's how we interact with the world. I think I've said again in a previous episode, but how we interact with the world is sensory in some form.
Yes.
So that's where I come from when I create.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we'll get onto this in a minute, but I'm doing something for my cousin, and it's very much an emotive thing. So,
Yeah.
my process is, what's the feeling here?
Okay.
What's my goal of an emotion? What do I want this person to feel when they're wearing it?
Okay, so that's sort of where you're beginning.
Yeah. So
and it's unfolding from there.
yeah. So then what I'll do is I'll go, okay, so this garment, I want you to feel cool. Okay, so what is cool?
Okay.
Cool is, in this context of what I've been given as a brief, this person wants it in this style, etc. In this context, cool is shape.
Okay.
So, okay, what shape am I going for?
Mm.
Then I'll look into the context of that shape. Is it rounded? Is it squared off? Is it whatever? And so on.
Sure.
And then I'll go from that. So it's very much the previous step informs the next,
Okay.
rather than there's a set list of steps that you then do methodically,
Like mine.
like yours.
Yes.
It's, I don't want to say it's you react on a whim, but it's very much I have an end goal, but let's feel our way there. Let's react on the fly.
Okay.
Let's let my instincts dictate what happens.
Okay. But let me ask you a question.
Go for it.
You know, the
The
compulsive...
controversial question that's
yeah.
coming in. Yeah.
Well,
Three,
no, I'm
two,
just
one.
curious. So obviously, you know, I love that you are working on an emotion and
Yep.
what you want yourself or the wearer to feel,
Yep.
which I think is really excellent. I do think even in designing a range, you do think about those things, you know, who's your customer, market, blah, 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 all of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it sounds to me, now correct me if I'm wrong, that your process, which is very different from mine, but is always going to be slightly different then
Yeah.
every time.
Every time.
So I think that is completely chaotic and crazy, and that would
Yeah.
just kill me.
Yeah.
But no offense.
No.
But
Absolutely
how does
would.
that work for you? Like, do you never think I need to do step one in order to get to step two? Like, what if you? How could you start at potentials? I don't know. Start at point 1A, but jump to 3 and then back to 2. Like I would. I don't think my mind would.
I mean, there is, I suppose, obviously a skeleton of a process where you kind of go, well, I can't start unless I have my materials, or I can't start unless I know what I'm cutting from, like i.e. pattern.
So that's very interesting. Okay, go on. Let's come back to that in a second. But go on.
Or you know, there is like a skeleton process of I have to start somewhere, and that somewhere is imagery or research,
Sure.
or there has to be something obviously to base it off. You can't just like start cutting fabric and who knows what's going to happen. It's not that chaotic.
No.
But
Excuse me.
because I'm not, and when you describing all of that is very actually quite inspiring, because I think there's pros and cons to both, but being trained really sets you up well for fashion, because you can then apply each individual trick you're trained with to anything. Whereas when you work the way I do, and this isn't self-deprecating at all, because come on,
You're fabulous.
we know me by now, is you kind of have to react on the fly, and because you're absolutely right when you say every process is different, because
Yeah.
it is, every garment's different, so therefore every process is different, that you have to react on the fly because you're not trained in that said. You're constantly coming up against things that you've not done before.
Okay.
So you're having to work your way around that, like problem solve.
Right. So you have to cross a bridge every time you get to it because you've never been there. Or
Exactly.
It's unique to the project that you're working on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that keeps it really, I don't know, well, interesting. I mean, it's fun, I guess, like to have challenges and work your way through them. So
I do enjoy that process.
I can see that being, I don't know, exciting at times.
I mean, it's also incredibly frustrating at times, but no, that's the bit I actually enjoy. It's the way my brain works is I'm very much a problem solver by nature. I like to understand how things work,
Okay.
and you know, take things apart, put them back together. Oh, it's done that way. Okay, great. Now I know for future reference. Once I've learned something, that's it. I've got it, and I can apply it to whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very much a learning curve every time I make something. Purely because I want it to be different in that moment.
Okay, I mean, I do find that fascinating as well. Like, 'cause as I outlined in my rant, like I have a very specific order that I do things in. It works really well for me. It satisfies my mind quite well. I like that. I feel confident with it, and I'm comfortable with it. Not in a sense that I need to push my boundaries. Like, it works for me, and I can do beautiful things.
Yeah.
But you said about a moment ago. You need to have your material first in order to begin, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so like you don't necessarily have to have your materials first.
No. I know
sometimes,
you don't need to, but you said usually you'd
Yeah.
like to have your material first. And I have to say, I do find that really interesting because I wouldn't have thought of it like that, and I can imagine that is a big part of what you do.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's not a big part of what I do, and so that I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, if I knew that I was making a shirt for you, I wouldn't need to have the material first physically in order to draft it and design it. unless of course the fabric was specific to a project. And I mean,
Yeah,
there
that's a
are
whole
times,
different ball game. Yeah.
right? But I mean, if you wanted a suit or a shirt or a kilt or I don't know, something made for you, your Canadian tuxedo, whatever it would be, I would know that I can draft those things for you, make a mock-up for you using calico or
Yep.
muslin or something, and go select the material later on, either with you or I
Mhm.
have it in my store or whatever it might be, storeroom,
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's really interesting. I've never thought of that before because I very rarely needed to go fabric first. Of course, if I was draping something, that's completely different.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing, but it really highlights how different we work, I think, because I'm coming from a point of emotion.
Mm.
Emotion is, it makes me feel a certain way when I touch it. It makes me feel a certain way when I look at it. The cut of it has a shape that reminds me of something, or
Mm.
it's so. I mean, I think I mentioned in the last episode about when we were working towards Sustainable Fashion Week, and so the amount of stuff I've got is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, the Simpsons
Oh,
thing,
yeah,
the Aladdin
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
because I like to have the item first that I can then manipulate to create a garment that creates emotion.
So I really like that, and I can see why I mean, I know we're very different. I know we approach things very differently anyway, but even just hearing you sort of outline it in that sense, like, that all makes perfect sense to me. I
Yeah.
mean, how else would you be picking up these items and creating something from them if you weren't looking at the tapestry or whatever it is that you have in front of you,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
figuring out like how to make it? I mean, that all you unfolded that
It feels
beautifully.
backwards, doesn't it?
But I do understand that. Whereas I might struggle to work in that way because my mind is, telling me not to, and training and all these things that, like I mentioned earlier, can be a real roadblock, even though sometimes they push me forward.
Mm-hmm.
If you said, let's, work together and I'm going to show you how to do it and you have to do it my way, I might really struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like,
But then,
because-
likewise, if I had
Mhm.
to follow such a rigid plan and be as methodical as you, I think I would find that stifling.
Okay. Whereas the I can't say that word.
Rigidity.
Rigidity, thank you.
Mhm.
I think I really benefit from
Yeah.
because I really like a lot of focus and a lot of things that I do in my life that are outside of the fashion world, like my baking business and
Yeah.
baking that I do and singing that I do and working with a coach.
That's right, people. He sings.
I know I talked about this before.
You have briefly, but I'd just like to
We're just
draw more attention to it
that'll
every
be
time you
for
mention it.
another episode.
The
But-
singing episode, where you sing us all a nice tune.
Only after a lesson. But
Perfectly.
anyway. But the point is, all of those things, and there are lots of others, of course, that we don't need to get into now, but require a real level of focus and this sort of methodical approach and this numbered approach. And, you do this first to get to that, There's like a formula or a chemical reaction, baking, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Those things work really well for me. I mean, even just the other day, we were in Spain with my in-laws. Lovely
Glorious.
time. And we went to play bingo. Now, I haven't
Amazing.
played bingo since I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very different from what I would have played then. And I had said to Lee, my husband, we were there with his mother, that I don't really care about the game, although I did win twice. But I don't care
Doesn't
about
care, he
the
says.
game as much as the process of it. I really enjoyed. They were calling out these numbers, and it was really fun finding them on the page, and that was what I really liked, and that all links
The
back to,
dopamine of ticking off the numbers.
but not even finding the number,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the random order, was the most fun for me.
Yeah.
But then we've talked about this
Mhm.
in our private lives before. Like, I don't know about any of you, but when I climb steps, not everywhere, but in certain scenarios, like at the subway, for example, I find myself counting the steps as I'm climbing them. So it's very much in that space.
Yeah, that's how you're wired. Like, your brain is so
Yeah.
used to that way of thinking. Like,
Yeah.
everything is a one step followed by the next step.
Yeah.
One thing's followed by the next
Yeah,
thing.
certain things have to happen first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the next thing cannot happen.
Whereas I used to be like that so much more when I was younger.
Mm.
And my job, my day job, I think I mentioned, is very corporate.
Yes.
It needs that level of type A, which is very me, but that it needs that level of process in order to do my job. But even then, I will do my job based on how it affects others' emotions. So if I do this task now, is that going to reduce stress in someone? Probably.
Right.
Okay, I'll do that first. This task that's been on my list for a while, there's going to be more people in the office next week, therefore I'll do that because that will make the environment nicer, so people
Right.
will feel better.
Right.
And I'll do that kind of thing.
Well, that makes sense. And you're self-aware enough to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is some level of process in my life, but generally speaking, I'm very much an instinctual
How
reactor.
interesting.
It's chalk and cheese, honestly.
Ugh. Who knew you were such a weirdo? No, I'm just
I
joking.
know. Well, anyone who pays attention knows.
Yeah, true. No, I'm only joking.
No, I mean, it's just everyone has quirks, don't they? Everyone.
Yeah, of
but that's
course.
why the world turns. It's because everyone's so different. We need people who are formulaic and think the way you do, but we also equally need people who have the ability to be a little bit more, I suppose, relaxed in their approach to things.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it would be a very stifling world, wouldn't it?
No, it's very true.
Or conversely, nothing would ever get done.
It's true, and I can be I have been described as very placid, but also I like things done a certain way, and so as much as I can be very easygoing, I'm certainly not a control freak, but I do like planning. I like to know what's going on. It just helps me, and
I'd say you're type A with type B demeanour. You're very
I'll
much
take it.
let's make things happen, but let's not be an arsehole to get it done. You're
well, thank you very
you're
much.
always so positive and always so like approachable and friendly. I think
well,
that
thank
balances
you.
out the type A.
Well,
enough.
I do try, or
Yeah.
I think I do. I don't know, but God, we're so different when it comes to
I know,
things.
but that's our process. So if you have a different process, please do let us know.
Yeah.
Are we just a couple of weirdos, as John says, that he's very step by step, and I'm very what happens with our process. But if you have a different process altogether, I'd be fascinated to hear that.
But I feel like most people would think I'm the odd one out because I can be so rigid, and like that's I think.
No, I think
really,
people would think that you're
really?
the correct
No,
way.
see, I think that would really drive people nuts. Like they'd be like, oh, I can't work with such like conditions. Like I need to be more relaxed. But I'm relaxed throughout the whole thing. But it's only because that way of doing it works for me.
Yeah, but then I'm the same when I'm physically working. So once I've got my process underway and I know what I'm making and I know that I've got materials and everything I've just said, once I'm in making mode, that's when the type A super stringent thing comes out, because I cannot make if I'm in chaos. Like my flat, I've not created anything in so long.
Yeah.
Because I think we were talking about it before, but my flat at the minute is mental.
Well, you've been redecorating the whole thing.
No, exactly, and it's the flat's upside down. There's no order to it. My sewing machine isn't even out because there's nothing to put on. Like, I'm in a transitional part in my life where certain things have changed. So I'm reordering my home and I'm getting it how I need it, and I'm restructuring and I'm decorating and I'm moving and I'm all those kind of things.
It is all very exciting.
It was very exciting, and I'm kind of going a bit crazy with it, but as a result, I've not created anything in a while. So soon, obviously, we'll get back into it, as I mentioned in the last episode. But if I'm not one of these people that will have fabric everywhere and threads everywhere, and I'll make and I'll cut and then I'll keep those pieces together, and I'll have this is sewn first, this is sewn second, this is sewn third. Once that's done, I'll have a break so my mind's clear. Then I'll come back to it, and then I'll do it, and I'll keep it. I cannot work in a chaotic environment. It sets me off.
No, well, me neither, and I really struggle with that. So if I was moving or redecorating as you've been, everything would be put away until that process was finished, and I could come back to what it is that I needed to do.
Dare I say we found common ground?
I don't know. That just wouldn't work for me. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Like, if there were bolts of fabric everywhere, all over the place, in a mess, or I don't know, even organized, like it would be way too much for me.
Yeah.
And I would really struggle with that. I mean, even when I'm making and I'm working from home, if I'm working from home and home is a bit messy, which sometimes it can be.
Yeah.
That all needs to get put away before I can focus on the right thing. And also, if I'm really busy with a project and I'm working out of my home on it, my home life has to sometimes take a backseat. Not like my personal relationships, but I might not be able to cook as much as I'd like
No,
to.
I know
Or I might
exactly
not,
what you
but
mean.
because the other thing, it takes priority, but also the space is filled with that
Yeah.
priority.
Well, we only have so much bandwidth, right? Like we
Yeah, of
can't do
course.
everything at once. Otherwise, we'd going back to episode
Mm.
1, burnout.
Yeah,
Linking
no,
full circle
exactly,
moment.
exactly.
You have to focus on what you're doing at the
Yeah.
moment. So it absolutely makes sense. I'm
And
with
like,
you on that.
no, exactly. And I mean, like you were saying, like you're not doing as much work at the moment in a fashion space because you've been really busy create in a creative sense,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
creating your space for you to live in. And then
Yeah.
of course, once that's complete, you'll get back into that rhythm when it feels right for you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally get that. You know, at the moment, we're traveling in a couple of weeks, and I've finished a couple of projects. I know I did mention this sort of brand, which I'm excited to continue working on, but there are a couple of projects that I want to do before we go away for myself, which is very rare, and for Lee, for my husband, as well, which I have only ever made him one thing in the past.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I was wearing something the other day. He really liked it. He was like, "Oh, maybe you could make me one." I said, "Absolutely." So I'll make this like 2-piece thing. We went and bought beautiful material from Liberty
It is
Fabrics,
gorgeous.
really, really lovely,
Love
and
it.
really nice summer. And I'm very much looking forward to it. We were just looking at it earlier rather, and you know, that's sort of what's taking up my time at the moment. So I'm glad it's really hot out because I'm not really in the mood to, you know, be cooking with the heat on every single night. It's like 38 degrees in London, but also that's what my focus is on. I've
Yeah.
got 2 weeks. I've got, you know, tons of materials that we picked up. I've got patterns already ready to go, plans and pieces already ready to go. All I
Yeah.
gotta do is, you know, iron everything flat, cut everything out, and start sewing it. So
Amazing.
that's what I'm kind of keeping busy with now. So whereas you're being creative and designing your space, I'm, you know, at home doing less because I'm focusing more on these few pieces. And
But even then, I like
enjoying
that it's following the veins of us. So like you're doing that, which is still quite process driven. You found some fabric, you've got the pattern ready. Like you literally just said, all I need now is to cut those pieces out,
Yeah.
and it's very formulaic. Whereas with me, because you're quite right, I am decorating currently. So I am still being creative, but I'm decorating my flat with in a dopamine decor
Yeah, I can't
style,
wait to see.
which is my fashion style. So having a home that is another expression of that side of my creativity.
Yeah, it reflects who you are.
Absolutely, it does. And also, I feel like will inject more into my fashion
Right.
because I'm living it.
Yeah, which is great. You've got your creativity sort of around you. You're in a space that's yours that you feel really good in.
Yeah.
So you're able to let your creativity flow out of you,
Yeah.
which is a really nice thing, a real luxury. Not everybody's so fortunate,
Yeah.
and that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm quite excited for it. It's fun. I'm next weekend. I think I'm actually going to start painting the colours in, and yeah. I've gone crazy, people. I've got some electric blues going in, bold greens,
Oh,
oranges.
really? Oh my God! I was
Yeah.
going to say, don't give it all away.
I mean,
but
there's
I'm
more than
excited
that.
to
Trust
see.
me, there's more than that.
Oh, okay, well, you can tell me privately.
I will. I'll tell you more. And when it's done, obviously, I'll be posting all the photos.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
can't
all
wait
good.
to
But
see.
yeah, there's going to be
We'll
some
do an
crazy
episode
stuff.
there so we can show it off.
It'll be my interior design decoration coming out.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, it'll be the launch of, you know, House of Wincott
Absolutely,
Interiors.
absolutely. Oh my God, I've branched out already,
Yeah,
guys.
exactly.
I've gone
Oh,
global.
I can't wait to see.
It's really exciting.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. So that having that happen at the moment has actually refreshed and reinvigorated my process because I'm now reminding myself of how I work. So it's making me excited to get back into creating.
Okay, but I feel like that kind of works like within our sort of like life theme, if you will, at the moment. Like, you've been busy with your day job. You've had, as you say, transitions in your personal life and different things, and that's affected, you know, who you are and what you're up to. You mentioned last week, like, come winter-ish time, you're going to have your Wizard of Oz pieces out, which is very exciting. Keep, you know, watch this space. But at the moment, you're focused on home. But I know we were talking about our just personal summer plans.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you how I'm going home to Toronto in a little while. And when I get there, yes, I will be on holiday, which I'm very much looking forward to. But I also have a client at home in Toronto who's reached out to me who wants to have some couture pieces made.
So exciting.
And so it's very exciting. And it's always nice to have people in different places, but also people who you know that support who you are, what you work on in your career. It's a wonderful thing, and I do feel incredibly fortunate. But I am meeting with this friend, actually, somebody I grew up with, who's worn clothes from me before,
Yeah.
and had seen a piece that I made for somebody recently and reached out very kindly and was like, I absolutely need to have something. When are you going to be in town next? Can we make arrangements for a
Wow.
design meeting? Can we do a fitting? How much can we get done while you're there? And so I don't want it to take over my entire vacation, because it could very easily become every day that I'm
Oh, of
there,
course. Yeah,
which
yeah.
I've done before, which is not what this trip is
No.
for. But I do have a decent amount of time there, and we will probably meet, let's say, 2 to 3 times at the most.
Yeah.
Have an initial consultation, do some measurements, look at some calico fabric, make a little quick mock-up if it lends itself
Yeah.
to that, if I can do some quick drafting, and know that I'm enjoying my summer, but I'm still working on building a brand and building a customer base, and trying to reach it as many people as possible.
Yeah, and being creative, like
Yeah.
still getting your process, because that is
Oh,
part of your
sorry.
beginning process, isn't it? Like
Yes,
you were saying. So
exactly.
even having, you just so happen to be there.
Yeah, I just happened to be there. It was somebody who, like I say, reached out to me, who I know quite well, who I'm very pleased to work with, and said, please let me know the next time you're there. I want to do a fitting. I want to do a design meeting. I'm really excited to, wear some more of your things, etc.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very much looking forward to it. And it
How
just
fun.
happens to be, a nice opportunity to catch up with a friend at the same time and feel, uplifted and supported. And I'm really
Oh, I
grateful
love
for that.
that. What a nice way to like blend two things in one over
Well,
summer.
exactly. A nice little summer plan. I'm
Reconnecting
sure.
with someone.
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine, like most people love love to go away in the summer if
Yeah,
you're
of course.
able to, obviously.
Yeah.
And why not kind of,
Make the most of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I mean,
exactly.
the only kind of thing I would say externally that I've kind of got process wise in the pipeline is a jacket for my cousin.
Well, you mentioned,
Yeah,
didn't you, last time?
yeah, in Australia. He wanted. I don't know if anyone listening remembers the Looney Tunes jacket I made for Sustainable Fashion Week last year. He originally wanted that. He has since tweaked his initial brief of what he would like, and he wants something more custom. So we're repurposing some denim. We're creating. He wants more like some nostalgic cartoon pieces. So I'm currently sourcing some of those and kind of creating it's not patchwork, but kind of creating something that's made emotively just for him.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the first project that's not for me that I would say is testing the way my process works.
Okay, nice.
Because I'm going from an emotional point of view, but working backwards from what he wants material wise.
Okay.
But I love that even that emulates our styles. You're going somewhere on holiday, but you're still managing to follow your own process of meeting someone, do the measurements, get the toile going, whatever. Mine is, I can't go meet him. I'd love to go to Australia right now. Hello, sorry, hi, sorry, can't come see you. Maybe soon. But doing it all remotely and getting it going is quite exciting. So look at us just having some really cool summer plans.
Yeah, I think it's look, it's really, if you're able to, it's really important to make sure you give yourself some downtime and some breathing time.
Oh, definitely.
If you're able to travel, wonderful. Not everybody wants to, not everybody can,
Mm-hmm.
but focus on yourself. And if you can tie that in with, in our world, being creative and creating something beautiful, especially for yourself, but if it's for somebody else, great.
Yeah.
Why not? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna, make the most of the summer, and I'm gonna
Absolutely, I
be,
love that for you.
designing and be relaxing at the same time,
Yeah.
or try my best at it.
Yeah, I mean, we know what you're like with relaxing, but Mr. 5 businesses in one. No, you're absolutely correct, and I love that. It's gonna be a good summer, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait.
We're doing some really cool things.
Mm-hmm.
But on that, I think that's the episode.
I think that's been a really enlightening conversation in
yeah,
some ways.
Yeah, we've gone quite deep on the process.
Learning a little bit more about you and
the chaotic
telling
nature.
you about how crazy I can be.
Yeah. Oh, very different compulsions with how we work. No, but thank you so much for listening to season 2, episode 3 of That's So Fashion, the process episode. Please do get in touch. Let us know your process. or if you want to just talk about our process or have any
Yeah, exactly.
questions or any, want any,
Any tips and tricks? I mean,
absolutely.
whatever. We just want to know it all.
John will have the answer.
I try.
Or, yeah, likewise, if you want to give us any tips and tricks. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for listening and joining us along this journey. Yeah, and we'll be back soon with
Yeah,
episode 4.
I know.
Very exciting.
It is. But in the meantime, everyone have a good summer and a good,
Mhm.
safe time. I mean, we'll be here throughout the summer anyway. But,
Absolutely.
just enjoy yourself and be safe.
Yeah, and keep creating.
Stay creative. I was going to say, keep creative.
Oh, look at us. Same minds, same minds. Yeah, so thank you very much and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.